Okay, three times holy the charm. Yeah, this today's not been my day for videos. I had a couple little glitches that took place, and hopefully, when I finish this commentary this time, that its final product would be for airing, and I can get this behind me. It's been kind of crazy, so let me just reiterate it. Reiterate my previous post that did not get through due to technical difficulty. Okay, I want to talk about the snowstorm in Texas that took place this past last week that devastated or basically put Texas to a pretty much a screeching halt. Um, and the thing about it is that it's been heavily politicized, and Ted Cruz going to Cancun. And as I said, it just gets me in trouble for saying this, spite of the fact that I'm not a fan of Ted Cruz in the slightest. That I really don't give a damn if he and his family went to Cancun, because his going to Cancun will not bring the state of Texas back to normal, to the mild winters that they are used to. Um, Frankly, I'd rather for Ted Cruz to stay in Texas, stay in Cancun, so he policy wise he could do no further harm to the state of Texas or to the nation as a U.S. senator, and that's how I feel. Um, with regard to Berto O'Rourke, who I'm not really a big fan of, I commend him and AOC, who I am a fan of, for raising $1 million for the people over there that in Texas that have been kind of suffering from the snowstorm and the detrimental effects of the snowstorm that it has had on that state. Now, here's where it gets heavily political in policy, where there's a lot of finger pointing, and a lot of people on the right, a lot of Republican politicians, and a lot of partisan hacks, talking heads, and people from the energy industry are all blaming the energy grid on relying way too much on windmills. Now, apparently, in Texas, is 20% of the grid relies on windmills, and the problem was not the windmills. The problem was that the basic energy infrastructure of Texas was not acclimated for such a harsh um, winter event. I mean, Texas has mild winters. North Carolina, it's not really all that prepared a lot of times when we get hit with big snows as well. We're a little more used to it than the people of Texas. That's not saying a hell of a lot. We don't get hardly any snow here. I mean, maybe every 2 3 years we'll get some fairly large amount of snows that will slow us down. And in Texas is even less the case. But the energy grid in Texas can't blame that on windmills and alternative energy. And that's exactly what it's come down to. Some people on the right, many people on the right, be like, that's what you get with them libtards wanting to rely on this crazy notion of green energy. And it's a big farce. No, it is not a big farce. We need green energy. It's a good idea on the survival of the human race. It's a good idea to rely on green energy. It's also a good idea to do it really as an alternative, that just in case traditional power can be used or it fails us. And here's the thing: um, we can solve this unemployment problem right now that we have with existing laws like the Humphrey-Hawkins Act, which is called the United States Full Employment Act of 1976. It's been in the law books for 45 years. And little do people know that we got a federal law that could take care of our unemployment problem and solve our environment at the same time. Although when this law came out, the Humphrey-Hawkins Act, I mean, it was not with the intent of green energy, but you can use this law to focus on green energy and more solar power, more, more windmills, more dams, things of that nature that you can use to kind of wean us off of fossil fuels, and we won't have to rely on fracking and as much, and hopefully phase out nuclear power eventually. Now I'm going to get in trouble with some on the left for saying this, but I'm on the fence on nuclear energy. And what I mean by that is that I know the negative consequences of nuclear energy, radiation. I mean, we saw what happened in Chernobyl in the former Soviet Union in 1986, and we saw what happened, and that was a real bad case. And we saw what happened down in over there in 3 Mile Island here in the United States, where there was mild leakage in 1979, and it's something to be concerned about. We have nuclear power, and then the problem with nuclear waste is that it can be recycled, and I'd rather see nuclear waste be recycled than it to be put on a landfill somewhere where it's going to do even more damage to the environment. Now we're going to have, if are going to have nuclear power, it can't be done by the private sector. It's got to be the state and federal government that's in control to have adequate regulation and to emphasize on its safety. And I like the idea of guaranteeing, public jobs for people where they have good benefits, good wages, and job security. Uh, with regard to Texas, I mean, they could use this as a project and start on a prototype Green New Deal. As I said, um, with more windmill farms and solar power and other forms of alternative energies. It depends on humanity. Our human civilization is on a balance, and if we don't do something about our environment, and we do have global warming, and we have all kinds of catastrophes waiting to happen if we do not prepare for the worst. And that's what we have to do. But getting back to what I was saying, I'm just tired of the bullshit politics by both parties, that they want you to forget about the real problems. Now, with regard to Ted Cruz going down to Cancun, the mainstream press, mainstream media, the liberal media wants you to forget about stimulus checks and $15 hour minimum wage and Medicare for all, free college. They want you to forget about that and focus on Trump is bad. Focus on look at that Ted Cruz creepy Ted Cruz. That's what they want you to focus on. Now, if the shoe would have been on the other foot, this would have been a blue state. And in this blue state, if a Democratic politician would have taken a vacation, Cancun or wherever he or she would have gone to, what would happen? They would have, Fox News and OAN and Newsmax and talk radio and social media right wing elements would be all about blaming that Democratic politician. It goes both ways, goes on both sides. And again, the politicians want you to forget about the problems of this country by focusing on some of the shenanigans by these politicians. And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I would like for a change that the two parties, and the corporate special interests in the mainstream media stop trying to finger point and put a culture war on every little disaster that takes place, large or small. And that for a change, we can just look at a problem that exists and say to ourselves, we need to solve this problem and not blame a politician for it. Let's do that today. I think it'll be a good thing if we could achieve that. And the best thing about achieving it is not only will we be doing this for the environment, but we'll also be doing this to make sure that everybody is employed and employed through a living wage full time job, preferably unionized. If you like what you heard, press like, comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform, utilize it. Even if you don't, utilize it anyway, because we're the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell. And until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace. And class struggle yesterday, today, tomorrow, and from here on until we achieve full social and economic justice.